So, good morning. I'm here to talk about Gina Showalter's The Darkest Torment. I do not read a whole lot of paranormal romance. I do not generally like it. I can't really say what I've disliked about the previous one. It was a little bit kind of outrageous. Paranormal romance I found is kind of fantastical elements get kind of like really eye-rolly. Soulmates can just get really cringy really fast. When I bought it, I was just kind of whatever. There was like a 2 for $9. I was drawn to this because he had a tattoo on his chest, and I'm kind of really into tattoos. And also the heroine is a dog trainer, and I'm super into dogs. And actually the other book that I got as part of the 2 for $9 is a dog romance book, which I have not read yet. I wasn't really expecting to enjoy this, and I ended up actually really liking it. So the idea is that it's Beauty and the Beast. Can Beauty tame her beast? So we got Katarina, who is a really very attractive dog trainer, and the leading man, he has the soul of this beast inside of him. Something to note about this book in particular is that it is not the first book in the series by a long shot. There is 11 other couples who get together over the course of this series before this couple gets together. So it's something like 22 other characters I don't know anything about. Gina Showalter does a pretty good job with world building, so I understand the world and what's going on. Essentially it's his group of friends who have found Pandora's box, and they opened it, and then they were possessed by like the different negative traits that were in the box. That does mean that there's like a bajillion side characters. By the end, I kind of had an idea of who was who, but like over the course of the story, it was just kind of, who are these guys? And so thankfully, like, individually, they're not super important. As a whole, they kind of are, because they're the main male lead's friends, but it doesn't really go too much into like detail. The leading lady is Katarina. She's a famed dog trainer. She's forced to marry this guy, Alexander. And Alec is like this huge asshole because he went and he had killed Katarina's fiance and her parents and her favorite dogs. And Katarina's brother is a drug addict. And so he has kidnapped the drug addicted brother and will not let him free, or will kill him or something if Katarina doesn't marry him. So she does. She really doesn't want to, obviously, because this dude just killed pretty much like everyone she's ever loved, and also her dogs, who she loves more than any human, because that's how dog people are. But she marries him, and it turns out that Alec is also in possession of Hades' coin, and Hades wants it back. Hades had brought back Baden from the dead to turn him into a little servant, and so he runs around doing errands for him, and one of the errands is to go get this coin back. Baden comes up and crashes Katarina and Alec's wedding and demanding the coin, and Alec is like, no, and Baden is like, okay, fine, well, I'll kidnap your bride. So she's pretty much being held captive at like Baden's house, where like all of his friends live and have like a ton of sex. Most of the story takes place at the house. Baden trying to get information out of Katarina, or then he tears apart his house to look for the coin, and Katarina being, you're awful, I hate you, I don't want to be here. His friends have tried like treating him like a guy going through a midlife crisis, and it's not working because he's like, I'm back from the dead, but now I'm also a servant and I can't do anything, and also I'm being possessed by this beast, and I used to be possessed by this demon, which really fucked with my head. She's like trying to treat him through someone who's been through some crap, kind of like the dogs that she raised. She's able to like get further on with him than anybody else. There's kind of like a level of seriousness that she treats like his issues that nobody else really does, because his friends are just like, oh, just go have some wild casual sex and you'll be totally fine. And she's just like, no, he needs to be like, treated with respect, but also give him his space. And so that's because of that, the romance feels a little bit more grounded. One of the big problems with romance is that these are two very, very stubborn. These two are just like incredibly dramatic, because they're like, oh my gosh, I hate you, I can't deal with you anymore, I'm leaving. And then 3 pages later they're like, oh wow, now that I've had space and have time to cool off, actually, we could have figured that out in a better way, other than just yelling at each other and arguing. Then they beg together and they apologize, find a compromise. And like the fact that they can come together, back together, and like discuss it and talk about it is really good. But the fact that they like overreact so ridiculously is like ridiculous. And it's just like, I guess it's more mature than like throwing a tiff for like weeks on end, but it's still kind of silly. Also, another really weird thing about the book is they kind of emphasize how weak Katarina is. And they never really contextualize her weakness. Well, is she weak for a woman? Is she weak for a human? Or is she just weak in comparison to these like immortal people who are possessed by demons? Okay, yeah, she's weak in comparison to a demigod. Yeah. I'm not gonna argue with you there, but it just seems like really weird to point out like her weakness in comparison to that. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of people who can beat a demigod. So it's kind of weird to emphasize her weakness in comparison to that. But they never really show her being weak in a human kind of way. So they don't really contextualize that. But the whole thing about her being weak barely matters anyways, because at the end of the book she meets some hellhounds. So all the hellhounds come out and they grant a little bit of power to Katarina and turns her into like this hell lady, extremely powerful. So it doesn't really even matter if she's weak because she's now like blessed by the hellhounds. It is a week after I started. My camera ran out of battery, so now I'm just recording on my phone. I pretty much just have one point left I want to go over, and that point is that there is this side plot that goes on where one of the other characters is sick with some kind of disease that if she doesn't become immortal, she will die. So this guy comes in who has the demon of indifference. His name is Puck. He's a satyr, I think. And so his indifference means that he's just like, you know, whatever about everything. And he's, well, you know what? You're dying. Let's just get married, I guess. Now they're married, and she doesn't want to be married to him, but she'd rather be married to him than be dead. And he doesn't care. And so I'm really interested to see, like, a book about a romantic lead who is magically forced to be indifferent. I feel like that's a really interesting concept. But sadly, I think the book that I've got is the latest one that's been published, and it was published 6 years ago. So I don't think that there is another one that's been published with that storyline in it. Yeah, I would have liked to read the next one. In the meantime, I did go ahead and check out a random one from the library, a random other book from the series. Yeah, I just wanted to hop on and actually finish up doing this because I didn't before, and it would take me like 5 minutes to finish it. So that is The Darkest Tournaments by Gina Showalter. Maybe I'll have read and have another book to talk about, but probably not, because that's the way I roll.